Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm always very humble to come here. And it's such a very beautiful day today. Now, that last song, Our Forefathers, is really some of the things I'll be talking about has to do a little bit with our forefathers. But let me just say a little antidote. When I was coming from Ipswich, is there anybody here who drives? Do you drive, yeah? And when you're driving, the idea is your attention should be always ahead. But again, you have your side mirror that allows you to look behind. They say when you're driving, you have four eyes, yeah? In front of you, your right side, left side mirror, and your back view. Now, sometimes if you are taking driving tests, the better you view those places will tell whether you're a good driver or not. And if you don't check those things all the time, they fail you. But if you check it all the time, you pass. But why do we check those, especially the real end? It's to see what is going on behind. It's a point of reference. And you don't focus on it, but you don't forget it. Your focus is straight ahead. But all too often, you have to reference what is going on in the past. So what I'm going to talk about today is a little reference from the past. As the providence is going ahead, we are focusing on True Mother and many other things she's doing, the new Holy Salt coming, a lot of things going on. Once in a while, let's reference to the past and see. So my talk today is a little bit about that. But then the topic, a thought-evolving being. Now, if I say to David Rennie, you are a thought-evolving being, you might say, if you're defensive, say, no, how could you say that to me? But if you're open-minded, say, really? How will I know? Tell me more. Now, the idea of thought-evolving being, one man took this on a different level. His name is James Allen. In his little book, As a Man Thinketh, So Is He. This guy, he had written many other books, but this little book, you can read it in 2 hours if you're a slow reader like myself. It's so popular. It's so influential, and it's all talking about the way we think. As a man thinketh, so is he. He's actually from Leicester. He was born in the 1800s. He was a very religious man, a journalist, a poet. In fact, his story is so interesting. But his observation of people, of situations then, caused him to say, this biblical verse, Proverbs, that we just read, Proverbs, sorry, what was it again? Proverbs, the last one that we read. He said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And the power of our thinking is so powerful. It's so powerful, the way we think. And in fact, that's one of the things that God cannot interfere with. He gave us. And in fact, that's one of the things that make us an immortal being, not eternal, immortal. Eternal means has no beginning and no ending, yeah? But immortal means has a beginning, but no ending. So spiritually, we have a beginning, but no ending. That makes us immortal. That makes us, you can think from the past, you can think forward, you can be in the present. So the way we think, that ability to think is so powerful. And in fact, many things we do starts from thoughts, from ideas. And those ideas are then manifested. And we see in our environment are all products of thought. But what does that mean to us as, Unification Church members or Family Federation? In our doctrine, in our teaching, the divine principle talks about mind and body, how important it is. And in fact, it says, the mind is the subject, the body is the object. So, on one level, I want to give an example of a thought of one woman, a godly woman, just her thinking saved not only her, but her entire nation. And her name is Judith. And this story, I'm calling it Judith and Holy Pharaohs. Now, Judith belonged to the tribe of Manasseh, and he married in that tribe as well. Her husband was very wealthy, but all of a sudden, he passed away. But during this time, in their time, the geopolitical situation was such that they were in danger. And this was the time of King Nebuchadnezzar. You can relate to him. King Nebuchadnezzar was referred to as a god, not just a king, a god. He ruled over, the whole of the Middle East, many nations. He had a battle with another king, and he asked people to join him. They refused, and among these people were the children of Israel. And in fact, they were living in the hill country. So King Nebuchadnezzar said, you guys didn't join with me in this battle. I'm going to take a revenge. So I will assign my general, his name was Holy Pharaohs. He is going to do my dirty work there. So he gave command to Holy Pharaohs to go and plunder those people. And, like my brother was talking, in the relation between nations, there is something called the international political economy. In these days, they call it. The international political economy operates on the doctrine of comparative advantage. So it's not, in those days, it operates on plunder. You go, you take over a nation, and then they tithe to you. You suppress them, and then they tithe to you. They tithe to you. We can see something like that happening. But currently, it happens under the doctrine of comparative advantage. And comparative advantage is a very popular doctrine in international politics, is that it's in a simple form. If you can produce beef cheaper than I can produce, or let's say, if Australia can produce wool cheaper than Britain, then it will be better for Britain to buy wool from Australia as opposed to Britain producing wool. So it is, so if a bale of wool from Australia, it will cost let's say, 100 pounds to produce, but in the UK, it would cost 150 pounds to produce. It is only economically better to buy from Australia. This is the whole international trade is based on comparative advantage. So, in those days, it wasn't like that. So King Nebuchadnezzar asked one of his generals who was in charge of the army of Assyria. So that is Assyria, now is Iran, Iraq, that was part of Assyria. Said, go and get all those hill countries. Tell them to surrender to me. I am coming. If they don't, when I come, I will plunder them up. And then they came with men, more than 100,000 men and cavalries. They came, they took over all the other parts. But the children of Israel, they were living in the hill country. They heard all these that was happening. And it's not too long when they returned, when they gathered themselves, they've consecrated all the holy instruments, and they have built the temple. They start doing their offering like their forefathers did. Our forefathers built for us a beautiful land. Our forefathers had built for them, a tradition. So their living, their existence was a threat. And then the high priests and all the leaders, they were afraid. But they prepared themselves for battle. They gathered all their harvests. They told them to blockade certain entrances. But the problem they had was water. They had to go down the valley to get the water. And Holy Pharaoh and his men came, and then they blockaded all those places. So it becomes difficult for the children of Israel to go down and get water. But they had food and other things because that was just past harvest time. So the high priest and the leaders got together. Then they said, we're going to give God 5 days to let us know what is going to happen. Of course, what they wanted for rain to come so that they can gather some water at least. If not, we will give in. So Judith heard this agreement. And she was bemused. She was upset. She was angry. Why should the people test God in that way? They're giving God ultimatum that in 5 days, if you don't do something, we're going to give in. So that means they will come, they will destroy their temple, they're going to destroy them completely. So Judith sent one of her trusted servants to the high priest and the leaders and told them to come to her place. But one thing about Judith was when her husband passed away, she was always fasting. In fact, that was within about 3 years when the husband had passed. She built a tent on top of her house. That's where she was staying. She was always mourning, but she was always praying. I can say connecting to the spirit of her husband, also connecting to God. So she lived that lifestyle, and they respected her for that. But also, Judith was beautiful. She had beautiful form. She was such a beautiful woman. She was filled with the Spirit. So she called the leaders, said, come. And the leaders went. And then he spoke to them, said, I've heard that you people have given God 5 days, and if God didn't respond, you're going to give into what holy pharaohs want to do to us. Why are you doing that? Why are you putting God to test? What's wrong with your faith? Don't you know what God has done for us all these years? Why not call unto him to help, but rather give him ultimatum to do something for you? He has done many things in the past. Why are you doing this? They said, well, yes, Judith, is a true thing. In fact, so when she spoke to them, this is what she said. He said, God is not a man that he should be moved by threat, nor human that he may be given ultimatum. Why do you do that? And then after she spoke to them, she said this, therefore, my brothers, let me set an example for our kinsmen. Their lives depend on us, and the defense of the sanctuary, the temple, and the altar, and the rest is depending on us. Besides all this, we should be grateful. Now, it takes more than the heart, more than faith, for somebody to think that way. We're going through such a threat, life-threatening threat. He said, let's be grateful. And it was a woman, the power of a faithful woman. This is incredible. He said, besides, we should be grateful to the Lord, our God, for putting us to the test. Now, you know, there's a book called the answer is in the problem. The answer is in the problem. So if you have any problem, the answer to that problem is in that problem. So now, what Judith is trying to do here is to turn the situation around and say, this is the test that the Lord has given to us. But these guys, they don't understand. They were all caught up with, well, we don't have water, the people are this. And in fact, so it goes on. So we should be grateful for Lord putting us to the test as he did our forefathers. Recall how he dealt with with Abraham, and how he tried Isaac. He tried Isaac. What was Isaac's trial? He was to be, Abraham was to go and kill Isaac. And Isaac accepted. But in the end, he was liberated. Yeah? So can you recall that? So in our providential life also, sometimes we can reflect, even in our personal life, when we are faced with challenges or other things, let's reflect and see what the Lord has done for us. And from that, we can. So I can ask, what challenge are you going through personally? And you don't have to answer me, but just reflect on that. What challenge are we going through as a community? What challenge are we going through as a nation? Can we turn that to be a test? I mean, I personally, I have many issues. Physically, the other time I thought I was fit enough. I was climbing. I tried to run to climb a little hill when my wife and I went out to pick wild mushrooms, and I just fell on my knee. And up to date, I still have that issue. I have other issues economically as well. I don't know about you. So we have many issues. But this Lord still provides what we need. Let me come back to this reading. It's really quite interesting what Judith told these guys, these men. In fact, he only called 3 of them, who were the main leaders, including the high priest. Say, come to me. Okay. He dealt with Abraham and he tried Isaac, and all that happened to Jacob in Syrian Mesopotamia, while he was tending the flock to Laban, his mother's brother. What happened to Jacob when he was deceived many times, yeah? So he started recalling all these things. Then one of the men said, the man is called Uzziah. Then Uzziah said to her, all that you have said and spoken with us make good sense, and no one can gainsay your words. No one can gainsay your words. Not today only is your wisdom made evidence, but from your earliest years, all the people have recognized your prudence. With correspondence to the worthy disposition of your heart, the people, however, were so tortured with thirst that they forced us to speak to them. So, they are trying to obviously shift, but they have known what Judith had said to them. Now, this is what Judith said, what she's going to do. Her thinking, what she was thinking, her action alone saved the people. Judith said, listen to me. I will do something that will go down from generation to generation among the descendants of the race. Stand at the gates tonight. Let me pass through with my maidens. And within a day, you have specified before you will surrender the city to the enemies. The Lord will rescue Israel by the hands. And she said, by my hands. What is she going to do? They are besieged. They are sieged. People are thirsty. They're about to die. And still, Judith said, let me go. Give me a chance. Maybe I'll just go through the story. And in fact, there's such a beautiful prayer of Judith. So interesting. I'll share that with you later. But let me come back to the gist of the story. So, Judith, she prayed and fasted as usual. And then she went and took bath and dressed herself. She made her hair, put all her jewelry, gold chains, and dressed. And it's written that she was beautiful with beautiful form. In the morning, she and 3 of her maids, they went down to the soldiers of Holy Pharaoh. She went. But what Holy Pharaoh did, as an army general, before he went, he called his men and the elders and said, these people, They've refused. What's their God? How many men are they? How do they fight? What do they believe in? And then there was a man among them. Her name was Akiah or something. He said, look, those people, their God always saves them. You have to be careful. If you want to fight them, you first have to know if they have done something wrong with their God. If they have sinned against their God, then that is what you can use as a base to go and fight them. But if they are in unity with their God will deliver them. It doesn't matter how strong you are. So, my general, don't go and fight them if you have not known that they've done something wrong with their gods. So then all the other guys say, well, how do you say that? Why do you make that kind of prophecy? Those people, they can't fight us? Who is their God? Our God is Nebuchadnezzar. Our God, he can send more men and we can take over them. How could you say that? Then they told this guy, they said, look, you've made a false prophet. You've made a false prophecy. We are going to send you close to those people when we kill them up, and then we will kill you too. So they took him away. Okay. So they decided, and in that time, Judith went to the camp. She said, take me to the general. And from those people who are refusing to fight you, take me to the general. Then they took her to Holy Pharaoh. She was beautiful, nice dress, with her food and her maiden. And then he went. He said, look, he went to Holy Pharaoh, told Holy Pharaoh, said, look, I have run away from those people because they've done something that is not right. They have an iniquity with their God. So therefore, I have run away from them. I don't want to be with them. So I want you to help me. If you don't mind, I will tell you what they've done. And that, then you will know. Then Holy Pharaoh, connected the dots that this guy had told him. He said, okay, thank you. And then they gave special tent to her and soldiers to guard her and her maid. Then she said, I believe in my God. There's only two things I want you to do for me. Number one, I have my food. You don't need to feed me. I got everything. And secondly, every morning I go to pray. So if you can allow me for those two things, I'll be happy here. Then Holy Pharaoh promised her, I said, okay, we'll take care of you. Nobody will harm you. You can go and pray early in the morning. And also, you can eat your food. So the first day, she went, continued praying, took shower. Her maids provided her food. The second day, she did the same thing. The third day, Holy Pharaoh's, an alpha male, seeing such a beautiful woman, could not resist himself. Said, look, let us call a party. It would be wrong for such a beautiful woman to come here and we don't really get to know her so that she can't know who we are and all these things. Let's call a party. Okay, call a party. And then that night they were eating. And the Bible says Holy Pharaoh drank more than he normally does that night. And where he was sleeping, the next tent was Judith's tent. And then he invited Judith. He said, look, you're going to be with me tonight. We're going to have good time. We eat, we drink. It's not good for you to come here and we don't entertain you. So they had a big party that night. He drank more than he drank as usual. He went and just dropped dead. Sleep. He didn't die. Now, Judith had a plan. You're going to cut off her, he said. So she went, while he was asleep. Judith prayed to God. He said, now is the time if you're going to liberate your children. He took Oliphera's dagger. Before, and pushed, lay him properly. He took the dagger and said, Lord, help me, Lord. With 2 strikes. Boom, boom. Quick death. He cut off Oliphera's head. And then he wrapped it up and gave it to her maids. And in the morning, they dressed up nicely, because this was their ritual. Then went to pray. But this time, Judith just went straight to their city and went. And when they saw her, then she said, she went. He said, the Lord has delivered us. The Lord has delivered us. But what happened next? I'll tell you before I come to that. So in the morning, everybody woke up. The general still sleeping. And all the eunuchs who were guarding him were sleeping, the guards and everything. Then, late morning, still sleeping. Then they said, till the afternoon, still sleeping. Oh, why is the general still sleeping? It's unusual. By this time, Judith and her maids have left the camp, the safety of the camp, and they're gone. And then one of the guards went in and he didn't see Oliphera. Not only that, he was on the other side. He went and checked. His head was off. This brought total chaos and confusion in the army. So they didn't know what to do. It brought fear in their hearts. For Judith, she went and told the people, said, look, you guys, you wanted to give this city to God, but this is God's city. Look what I've done. I have killed the general, Oliphera. Look at his head. And then this guy that they chose him away, who prophesied that we should not fight those people, they called him, they said, come, is this Oliphera's head? He said, yes. So that time, they gathered all fighting men, anybody who could fight, to go down to the camp to wage war on those people. And they were far more than... So they went, because now confusion, nobody to give direction and everything. And then they went and just scattered those armies. So they invaded. The action of one woman, her thinking, her thoughts, saved the people. So, can you imagine that kind of liberation just one woman did to save not only her, but his country, his people? So the way we think is very, very important. And Judith, when she returned after the whole battle, she was so revered among the children of Israel. So it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you are, what you think, if it is in line with God's providence. Even a single person. But how about a group? How about a group? Our collective consciousness, our collective thought, if it is really harnessed, united, how much power will that make? So on that foundation, brothers and sisters, join me in a short prayer. Dearest Heavenly Father, as Paul said, whatever is good, whatever is noble, whatever is worthy, we should always think about. And our true Father, true Mother, they're also telling us to be in the Spirit, to think, to focus our mind. Father, the victory of Judith, let that victory be in our life, in our lineage, in our nations, in this world, Lord. As a small group, a small organization. Father, even if there is one person who is aligned, may we all unite with that one person. Our true Mother, we all unite with her, Father, to bring victory to you. We may not know all the things that is in her mind, just like Judith. The people didn't know what she planned to do, but they supported her. They united with her. Father, may we unite with our true Mother. May we unite among ourselves. May we unite with our minds centered on you to bring victory. Victory, not just into our personal lives, but in our communities, in our nations, and in this world. Father, even if it's a health issue, even if it's economic issue, even if it's social issue that we are facing personally, particularly, Father, people in our community who are battling with their health issues, we send them angels of healing. We send them victory. Whatever there is, Father, we are grateful and thankful to you that you've done it before, and we know you can do the great things and mighty things for us again. I thank you so much. I report and I pray with gratitude and thanks. In our name, Francis and Bridget Phoebe, a Central Blessed family, Aju. Thank you very much.